welcome to this any percent speedrun of Bug Fables. So today I'm joined by GhostKumo
Hello.
and GigaDB.
Hello.
So today is any percent. Basically, if someone wants to explain like the story for the game.
Okay, so basically what this is a game that was made by a Panamanian independent video game developer who really wanted to make a game very much in the same vein as a lot of the old Mario RPGs, especially Paper Mario. As opposed to some of the newer like Paper Mario games, which have kind of adapted a bit of a different gameplay style altogether. They wanted to go kind of back to those like simple RPG roots. Of course, they don't have the IP, so they had to make a game with their own characters, their own story, world, etc. So they decided to make this charming little game full of a bunch of paper bugs instead. And it's adorable.
Yeah.
The basic premise with the game's story. So we're joined here by one of our main characters. His name is Kaboo. And the bee in the background, her name is Vi. And those are the two of the three main characters of the game. And they decide that they want to form an exploration team, which is sort of the Ant Empire's kind of squads for going out throughout the world and discovering things and gathering information.
Yeah, exactly.
And gathering old artifacts, basically. This right here is a tutorial battle. Very similar to the Paper Mario combat system. There's timed hits and all that, although they're slightly different from the one you might expect to see there. And we're going to fail every single one of them because it's faster.
Yeah, so as an expert of Paper Mario, I can assure you that the battle system is definitely tweaked in its own little way here. So the character in front gains +1 attack, but they are targeted more. And we also have, if you know what a super guard is from Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, we have something sort of like that called super blocking, and that allows you to take 2 less damage instead of 1 less damage.
It's closer to the super guarding in Super Mario RPG, where in that game, like a super tight guard, you would actually reduce damage to 0. The difference with this game is you only reduce it by 2 rather than entirely,
Yeah.
but you can use it on every attack as opposed to magic like Super Mario RPG.
But it's not as broken as like TTYD.
Yeah. By the way, you've already seen one of the most important speed techs in this run so far, and that is holding the B button for text.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that most speedruns do not have the luxury of having. Paper Mario is also one of those games, but this one, wanting to follow in Paper Mario's footsteps, has that, so it's very nice.
It wasn't originally in the game. They added it after popular demand, because we were mashing on like the controller and keyboard for super fast mashing, and that got tiresome. This was added in like 1.03. It added
Oh, cool! I didn't
a lot
know
of quality of life features there.
So
Yeah,
here
I
we're
know
just.
sorry.
Oh yeah, here we're just walking and we just don't want any encounters. I'm just gonna learn like the cut, which is the equivalent of like the hammer in Paper Mario.
Yeah, so we really don't want to get into encounters, because when you run away from encounters, you lose money, and we actually need a lot of money, like a very specific amount of money early on that we don't have a lot of wiggle room for.
Yeah, money is pretty tight early in the run.
The other thing, too, is that we're going to want to do combat at very specific points. There are points where we will do optional battles, and this is because leveling up actually gives you a full health refill, as well as really useful stats that we're going to need at precise points.
Yeah,
we only want to do combat at very specific points of the run.
Yeah, there's a few points where you really need to level up to save time, so it's important to
right there,
XP.
So right there, you just picked up a crystal berry. Crystal berries are sort of, if you play Paper Mario, those are like star pieces. You collect them for you collect them to sort of trade for like really rare items. A couple of which are going to be incredibly useful later on in the route, because we're going to be playing this game at very low levels, and we need the right equipment to compensate for that.
Yeah, we need like to buff up the bee, basically, because she has multiple hit attacks. And if you buff her attack, she's just gonna, like, it goes exponentially.
Yeah, so Vi here is probably the most important of the 3 characters for the speedrun. She's also really lazy, which is one of my favorite things about her character. She can fly, but she doesn't actually use the ability till later when she's like absolutely required to.
just to draw more parallels for Paper Mario speedruns and Bug Fables, Vi's boomerang has multiple hits, which is comparable to the power bounce abuse in Paper Mario.
Yeah. The difference with it is unless you do a specific side quest, it's not worth it to do. You can't actually make it hit more than 4 times, so we have to kind of account for it always hitting up to 4 times. And the nice thing is the danger strats aren't really a thing in this run. We actually use different strats to get damage. And there's no like Mega Rush. Well, there's an item literally called Mega
Yeah, there's
Rush.
an item called Mega
It works differently.
It's a little bit different, yeah.
I think it's Mega Rush TM, like the name of the item. Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of using danger strats and constantly using essentially one combat strat, all 3 of the characters that we use as party members have their own boss fight in which they kind of star. So
yeah, that's
there's a
definitely
nice
one
bit
of
of
my
variety.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the speedrun is that at least a character gets to at least shine in one fight. Vi doesn't get to do everything, but just most of it.
Yeah, Kaboo really excels in fights against enemies with
High defense. Yeah.
Vi specializes in fights against single targets. Yeah.
I wanted to point out a minor optimization that Light is doing, in that what character you enter a cutscene in, it actually can matter a little bit for speed. So that's why if you notice he's changing his character right before cutscenes, that's why.
Just because the character is like closer to where I want to go after the cutscene.
So this is Spooter. We can't actually hurt Spooter. And yes, his name is Spooter. Don't call him Spooter.
Don't call him Spooter though.
That's the name of the track in the soundtrack. All right, so we're going on a quest to Snakemouth Den, which no explorer has ever come back from alive. But we decided, our first mission is going to be this big, terrifying mission to find the secret of Snakemouth Den. Kabu nearly gets eaten, but Vi decides to not be a coward because she's kind of lazy and selfish, but Kabu decided to be nice to her, which is something she's not used to, so she's going to return the favor. So here we can't actually hurt Spooter, but we want to save the moth that's caught up in the spider web in the background.
Just
we have to do 9 damage to the web.
Just a comment on Vi's character. I've seen people compare Vi to Twitch chat. It's like, oh, just go do we just want the rewards. We don't just want this. Don't care about the story.
So here we're gonna get our new party member.
Yeah, so
his name is Leaf. Yeah.
And he completes sort of the classic trio of, you have your range specialist, you have your tank warrior type, and then you have your mage. Leaf is the mage, Kabu is the warrior, etc. Each character kind of has their own unique little property and thing that they excel at. Vi is the only one who can actually use basic attacks to target airborne enemies. Kabu pierces 1 point of defense, and many of his abilities later kind of specialize in dealing damage to enemies with high defense. And Leaf is a mage, specifically an ice mage. And ice has the unique property of, against plant and fungi enemy types, it does bonus damage. So it's a save crystal. Any of the yellow save crystals heal to full. And he's going to want to try to hit it with the Beamerang in such a way that he doesn't actually trigger the save prompt to save some time. He's about to come up on a little minor skip here, where he's going to hit a hazard right as he hits the switch. He messed it up. So he's going to hit a hazard as soon as he hits this switch here, which is going to cause the platform to raise. And as he hits the hazard, it's going to reset him back, so he saves a little bit of movement.
Yeah, throwing the boomerang in diagonally is pretty much one of the hardest tricks in the run, I think.
Yeah. You gotta use the
Angles
D-pad. Because with the analog stick, it's kind of janky.
Yeah, I use the D-pad to get that myself.
Side note, I love Leaf's character. He's just got this dead look on his face, and he's always got this kind of just deadpan sort of sense to everything he says.
Ooh. Are you saying Leaf is dead? Is that a spoiler?
Gosh. So this is the first use of what is called the turn relay. And the way turn relay works is you give one character's turn to another character. The trade-off to this is the second action taken by the same character will do 1 point less of damage. And in the case of multi-hit moves, this applies to like everything, so that's going to matter later. So we're only going to really want to use turn relay whenever it's beneficial to use a character more than once. But we're going to make quite a lot of use out of it. And it's really this thing that separates the combat system of this game from, honestly, most other RPGs, let alone, you know, the Mario RPGs that it takes inspiration from.
You'll notice that Light actually took some time to check the statue there, and that is because we are going to be collecting these things called discoveries. Some of them you get just by playing through the game naturally, but you can get some rewards for it. So, for example, we're going to be getting some money from it, and money's pretty tight in this run.
So this is Snake Mount Den Skip. There's a big gate there that we're supposed to access 2 switches to unlock. But one trick you can actually do here is set up an enemy as an ice block, and then wedge it just barely away from the wall.
Ooh, nice.
And then walk underneath it, and it will push him into the wall. And when he's in the wall, there's a few frames in which he can actually do jumps because it's treated as being on the ground. If he doesn't, he falls out of bounds. But if he does the jump, he can actually access the loading zone behind the gate and save about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to mention that you just want to make sure that there's a small gap between the ice and the wall. So
the timing is not as intuitive as it looks, because you also don't want to like keep running right to the right end of the ice block. You want to be like just barely more than halfway underneath it.
And to jump like when the ice block pushes you in the wall.
Yeah, although Light has innovated that strat a little bit where you try to do it while running. You can do it while stationary for the initial clip, and then you have to navigate after. You have to start moving immediately after. But if you try to do the clip while moving, it's a little bit safer, I think, at least.
So we have the Ancient Mask, which is the artifact buried deep within Snake Mount Den. There's a few other things in this dungeon, but those are side areas that we're not gonna do in this run, unfortunately, because they have some really good story.
So here we have our first boss fight, and
mess it up.
Actually do damage.
Luckily, this fight is not very strict, so I'll be fine.
He could save a little bit of time if he plays perfectly and gets really favorable luck on freezes, because there's I think, was it 30 or 40% chance of freezing him with Icefall?
Yeah.
Which we haven't mentioned what happens when you freeze an enemy, but when you freeze an enemy, either you run out their turn and they skip a turn, or you hit them while they're frozen and they take an additional point of damage.
Yeah, the perfect RNG in this fight would be freezing all 3 times that we use Icefall on Scooter, but...
That's pretty rare.
Nice double mashing there.
Yeah, yeah. This is actually the fastest attack that he does. Yeah. So here we're going to switch our character order, and then we're going to actually use Kabu's Horn to flip this enemy in the front to get his defense, and then just relay over to Leaf to get 2 ice balls.
So I should probably quickly explain double mashing. So essentially you can mash on your controller and keyboard at the same time, and it counts both inputs, which is what Light's doing here to skip this attack as fast as possible.
So one of the strats that he is doing is he's using turn relay before he puts his inputs in, and this is so that he can simplify his menus a little bit. This was something Joro Leyland, who used to have the record, kind of figured out. It's faster to just use all your character's turns at once rather than to like use your character, then relay back to him, and then menu again. It just saves time on inputs. There's a lot of little optimizations that go into running this game. And that's Chapter 1. Yep, Chapter 1 and Chapter 7 of this game are considerably shorter than a lot of the other chapters in the game.
Yeah, I will say I love this game casually. I will say that the shortness of Chapter 7 put me off a little bit at first, but I mean, I appreciate a speedrun. That's for sure.
Well, Chapter 7 has its own style. Like, it's pretty weird.
It's short but sweet. Like, the thing that I will say with this game that's great is it doesn't actually feature a lot of things that people have complained about the classic Paper Mario games, which is there's not a ton of backtracking to areas you've already been unless you're doing, side quests and stuff. The stories themselves, story sequences themselves actually progress pretty quickly, and even the backtracking is fairly limited because you can, navigate things pretty quickly. There's also not a lot of like filler story padding cutscenes, i.e. the Peach cutscenes. There's nothing quite like that in this game.
So you saw that Light picked up a spicy berry, and you'll see this item a lot in this run because it increases attack power. And if you know anything about RPGs, increasing your attack power is a chance to make fights go faster. So very useful.
So we have now officially become an exploration team by succeeding in our first quest, which very, very few adventure teams can claim that they've done something as big as we just did. Also, we're kind of unique among exploration teams in that we have 3 members. Usually it's just a duo. But now we're going to go get an audience with the Queen, who was desperately trying to get the artifact that was in Snakemouth Den. And so just because Snakemouth Den is where we explored first, our team name is going to be Team Snakemouth for the rest of the game.
Oh yeah, I love that name.
Honestly, everything in this game works very organically. Like, your currency is, which is kind of a nice touch, because that's like, something bugs would really enjoy. Your EXP is not actually experience points, it's exploration points, and your levels, so they kind of tie everything into something thematic.
Yeah, the lore of this game is really good. Like, everything works out.
They went deep into the lore. There's a bunch of side lore books, which include things like why some bugs are sentient and some aren't. And there's little things like eggs are a healing item in this game. They're not actually like chicken eggs, they're aphid eggs, because aphids are sort of the livestock among sentient bugs. The lore goes really deep, and I appreciate the extra mile that they went in.
Yeah, this game
definitely helped in the world building.
This game has a lot of dialogue. I think it's like 150,000 line of dialogues.
Mm-hmm. So next up is Chapter 2, which in my personal opinion is probably my favorite as far as strats goes.
Yeah, Chapter 2 has a lot of cool strats in it. Well, at least the second half. The festival part is a little slower, but once you get past that, it's really cool.
Now we're gonna turn in our discoveries that we talked before earlier. So we get 20 berries for 5 discoveries.
Yeah, we're gonna want to get 10 later.
Which you don't have to really get any extra
We don't have to go
discoveries
out of our way for them.
Yeah. Thankfully, we'll have 10 discoveries by the time we need it later on.
So this is the side quest board. There's actually a few side quests that we're gonna do because the rewards that they yield are considerably worth it.
Yeah. And believe me, I've tried to get around them, but trying to skip it doesn't work.
Yeah, there's one side quest that like we need to do a minibus, and this minibus is really tough.
It takes several minutes, but the reward it yields is gargantuan.
Yeah, I was stubborn about it at first. I was like, there's no way that doing a several minute mini boss side quest is worth it, but no, it definitely is.
Paper Mario, you can cook items, and you can talk to this extremely jacked fly to cook your stuff.
I love that character.
I love this character. But yeah, cooking is actually going to be really useful because you can combine items from the get-go rather than needing to get an item, like in Paper Mario. And when you combine 2 items, they can yield very, very useful rewards. As well as make it so that you only have to use 1 item to get 2 effects rather than, 2 items in some cases. Spicy berries, we're going to do a lot. So this here's a bad book. There's a NPC in the library who is an avid collector of bad books. So for those of you who are, used to seeing awful games done quick, there's an NPC who's kind of an homage to those special breed of gamers who are really into bad games. We're going to collect 3 spicy berries and 2 burly berries. Burly berries increase defense, but they're actually going to be useful in cooking later. for an item that'll lower defense.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned that we're going to want to have our level at a specific point. We're going to do a fight with this kind of Goomba-looking enemy called a Seedling. They're weak to ice, so they take 4 damage instead of 3 from an ice fall HP. So that EXP is going to be really useful for routing purposes.
Yeah, that fight is really fast for experience as well.
The thing with Seedling is that they have, I think it's 1% chance of being golden, and we really don't want that. Because you basically need to like reset the fight.
I've been golden seedlinged before. It's rough.
Yeah, I haven't experienced it in a run yet, thankfully, but I have seen it in practice.
I have in other areas.
Yeah, there's one more fight we have to do that has a chance of golden seedling appearing. This fight's pretty straightforward. We're just going to be using Last Tornado Toss and standard attacks, so it's over pretty quick.
Yeah, so this Wasp has exactly 14 HP, which means you can just barely kill it in 2 turns. I actually really like the Wasp encounter theme because it's in like a 11/4 time signature. It really throws you off.
Yeah, the music's definitely... I really like the Wasp theme. Music in this game in general is very good.
Yeah, I will say there's sort of like the sound font, I guess you could call it, isn't the most like vibrant, but the compositions are actually really neat. They fit the game very well.
Yeah, some of the sound fonts did take some getting used to for me, but like I feel like it comes together nicely.
I agree.
For that ice block there, if you do a very tight movement, you can make the first ice drop or the water drop.
Yep.
It saves a couple seconds.
There's a lot of little cycles that you kind of learn to at least try and get.
Oh boy.
Okay, this is bad. Money is kind of tight right now, so we're gonna pick berries.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a
not,
bunch of
But
bushes coming around.
there is a backup to it.
yeah. The next room we have guarantee berries, so
Yeah.
it's fine. We need
that,
6.
That guy is spooky. You go by him twice in this run too, so.
Just taking it slow here. Getting the 6 berries.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, unfortunately, this part of the run is probably the absolute tightest with money. Like, but luckily, there's bushes that are always guaranteed to have berries here.
There's a nice little time save strat there.
Oh yeah, where he jumped up the railing, right? So we're also about to go by one of the more annoying enemies to dodge as well.
Oh yeah,
here.
this one is really annoying. Thankfully, I got good RNG on the seedling, so
Hey,
Yeah.
Light, do
Yeah.
not cross the spike pit.
As if the enemy wasn't as bad enough, of course there has to be a sign there that you have to like completely walk around to. If you don't want to read it.
So
Okay,
we arrive at the chapter 2 town. It's like a really relaxed town.
Yeah, this is Golden Settlement. I love the autumn aesthetic of this place. It's
Yeah.
really neat. Very nostalgic.
And we're gonna start the festival.
Yeah, so the festival is sort of this annual thing that they hold here, and if you do all the stuff, you can ask for the right to go meet the goddess of the Golden Settlement, which is the goddess Venus. So naturally, we're gonna try and do everything here. So he's gonna find 2 hard seeds here, which he's gonna combine with the burly seeds that he picked up earlier, and he's gonna cook them into a burly bomb, which, as I mentioned, is an item that, on top of also doing a little bit of damage, it lowers enemies' defense for 2 turns.
Yeah, Burly Bomb is definitely one of the more useful items in the speedrun.
There's also use cause like there's a glitch where if you use a move that bursts defense and you lower an enemy defense that has defense, you'll do more damage.
Yeah, so essentially if you lower their defense and try to pierce them, the piercing attack will do 1 extra damage.
Yeah.
One thing I haven't really touched on, I think, a whole lot is the art design of this game. This game has pretty much unique character sprites for just about every character in the game, even some of the most insignificant NPCs. So it has a very like vibrant looking world for what it is.
Yeah, I'm really happy that they didn't decide to copy and paste one NPC.
Yeah, there's very, very, very few like copy and paste NPCs.
Sticker store.
Oh, we didn't have to say. So in the windmill, there's kind of some janky collision that you can just kind of throw the boomerang through and grab the crystal berry that's in there. You're supposed to unlock the ability to suspend the boomerang in midair, which we're gonna get very soon. But
yeah, it's kind of funny because it shows you like, oh, you should try opening the windmill with the boomerang, and then you just ignore it after. You'll see. And here you're gonna see. We explained double mashing earlier. You can make this mini game go really fast using it.
It's just the god of eating content.
Yeah, Leaf was really hungry there.
Hungry mom. That is one hungry. So one of his opponents in the eating contest, as kind of graciously accepting defeat, will decide to give us an item called the weak stomach medal. Medals being kind of the badge equivalent. We've already equipped one, but the medal's going to start coming into play more in depth in this chapter. The weak stomach medal causes poison whenever you eat a healing item. And that might sound like it's actually as it usually, but there's actual benefits under certain circumstances to poison ourselves. So it's going to come into play in the route later.
Yeah. Also, I can't believe he remembered weak stomach. That's the hardest trick in the run.
Yeah, if I miss it, I need like to pay 45 berries, and I really don't want to do that.
He's also doing the best part of the speedrun right here, and that's the whack-a-worm minigame. It's very fast.
We only need 15, so what I'm doing right now is pretty useless.
And I usually wait in the corner after I get 15.
It's just a good time to set your controller down. You've been working hard the last, 20-something odd minutes of the run.
I'm trying to beat my I score. I think I got 35, no, 36. Well, that's the... I won't beat it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really think we'll be able to skip this minigame anytime soon because the reward for it is very important to the speedrun. So, because we get the upgraded boomerang to hold it in place, which is needed for a lot of overworld stuff, and the hurricane toss, which is very, very good in battle as well. Hurricane toss is essentially like Wasp Tornado toss, which you've already seen, but it pierces too, because they thought, how can we make a character even more broken?
Yeah, so Hurricane Toast is like Tornado Toast plus it pierces the defense. It's really, really good.
Kind of a nice little side benefit to Hurricane Toss. It's basically an upgraded Tornado Toss that pierces defense, but it also has a faster attack animation. So there are times where if I have the TP and I know exactly how much damage I need to do, I'll just use it because it saves a little bit of time over Tornado Toss.
Actually, I did time it. I don't know if there's that big of a difference. If there is, it's really small. Just because also there's recovery time on both too. I think the recovery time on Hurricane Toss is a little bit longer than you might expect. But
this is Aria.
Yeah.
She has 23 HP. The kind of neat thing about this fight is she has several different permutations.
Wait. I thought she upgraded our defense.
It's fine, it's fine. As long as you don't do more than 13. Yeah. I have made that mistake before. It is very bad.
Yeah. So if you bring her down to below 10 HP, she summons a little minion, and that just makes the fight longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's catastrophically longer, honestly, so definitely don't want to do that. But yeah, that's why we brand her specific HP and then use Spicy Berry to make sure we can skip the enemy spawn.
Yeah, a lot of fights in this game actually involve doing strats where we know exactly how much damage we can deal, thanks to this game's, general lack of randomness with how much you do, in coupled with the very low numbers and knowing how much HP an enemy has, to do kind of a precise amount of damage and then like work around our buffs. Like we know exactly what they're gonna do, so we're just sort of using damage manipulation on a lot of bosses. Which is more important on this on this chapter's boss than any other boss in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here we're at the second portion of chapter 2, which is, you're gonna see a lot of tricks and tech here, so it's one of the best parts of the speedrun, in my opinion.
A bunch of ice clips.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ice clips, but you're also gonna be using the action storage as well. Or
Yeah.
does it even have an official name? Did we name it?
It's like jump fly or jump boomerang.
Yeah, you can basically buffer jump inputs to a lot of your actions in this game. So he's gonna freeze this enemy and do a trick similar to Snake Mouth Gate Skip here. By positioning it up against the corner here and wedging himself into the wall.
Nice.
And then while you're in the wall, you, again, as I mentioned, you're treated as being on the ground, so you can actually kind of infinitely jump. And this
very fast.
skips a very skips the kind of tedious portion of this area.
Yeah, it skips a room where you have to do a series of rising platforms similar to this, but it's a little bit longer to get a crank so you can access the area, but we can skip it.
So this is about a Venus. It's a flower. It is, again, weak to ice. And enemies that are weak to ice have basically like a 100% chance of freeze most of the time, so we can kind of guarantee that we're able to do the 9 damage in one turn. And we're actually going to not do anything with Kavu, just so that it wastes its turn to unfreeze.
So we can actually skip this fight, but as we mentioned earlier, the experience is very, very tight in this run, so we will really need to manipulate it in a particular way. So in order to fix our experience from skipping this fight, it's not really worth it.
Yeah, we'd have to do a slower fight, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And just barely make that jump from up there. And he's going to buffer a jump input into a boomerang toss to grab this little piece of the crank here, hopefully not alerting the attention of the enemy.
Which I've officially named action storage right now.
I just call it buffer, like jump buffering.
Yeah, or buffering, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to jump whenever you use overrolled actions, but you can sort of buffer the input into it, and this breaks a lot of things in this game.
Yeah, you can do it with most abilities before you get the hold ability. Some you can use after the hold ability you get with that character. But I guess because usually it's used on Vi's Boomerang and Vi's Fly, we usually just refer to it as Jump Boomerang or Jump Fly. But
Yeah, you can do it with every character.
Mm-hmm.
Oh!
Ooh, yeah.
What?
Nah, it's fine.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get full heal anyway.
No!
Oh.
I think I'm gonna be fine.
Probably fine.
Yeah. Oh. Alright.
This is fine.
This is fine. Everything is fine.
Damn. Some of the encounters we do, we try to abuse Icefall a lot, and sometimes it can be tough to do it fast.
Yeah, normally
a lot of time on them.
normally this fight is a 1 turn, but I messed it up.
Well,
Here's
you have
what
to. Sorry, go ahead.
So real quick, he's going to actually lower the frame rate to 30 frames per second because it actually increases the likelihood of performing this trick here where you can throw the boomerang into the wall and it'll make just enough contact with the crank half there so that he can grab it without having to, go through the slow process of bringing an ice block as a platform all the way over here. But continue, Giga.
I was just going to say that for the fight to be 1 turn, you do need to get double freeze on Seedling, which is usually happens, but sometimes it doesn't.
And now it's the annoying room.
This room sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this room is very hard to do fast. There's a bunch of cycles and
Yeah, I messed it
hard
up.
platforming.
Like you can cross, which is the ice block, but I got like a bad angle of it. Sure, it's
Yeah.
a little bit easier.
The nice thing is that in
I don't
patch,
know.
I think it was 1.04.
And you can maybe make that.
I think it was patch 104. They actually show you the angle that your that you knock item or objects with Kabu's horn, like what direction that it's going into. It didn't originally have that, and you had to kind of just guess, and it sucked.
I didn't know that either. I'm learning so much.
So there he's gonna buffer a jump input to grab the crank there, skipping having to bring an ice block all the way onto the end of that bridge.
Again, utilizing the jump beamer.
If you end up hitting a hazard while the crank is in midair, it'll disappear, and you've just basically soft locked yourself.
Yeah, there is a fast route where you can do where you can get it and then fall into the spikes, and it teleports you. I usually go for that strat, but it sometimes is a little bit hard to get.
Yeah, and if you hit the ground before getting the object, you just gotta reset the room.
Yeah, it's really bad.
So these two explorers we met back in town, there's Zasp and Mathiva. Mathiva's a total diva, as her name suggests, and Zasp is sort of her loyal bodyguard and suitor, I guess. Now, in this battle, we wanted to take care of Mathiva as fast as possible, despite the fact that Zasp will buff himself.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is Mathiva will heal Zasp if his HP gets low, so we want to, kill the medic.
No
Do you
freeze.
think it's better to go for Icefall on the second turn here? I tried it on the first usually, but
Yeah, cause on the second turn you can, if Zaps gets freeze, you're gonna skip the attack boost, like the infinite attack boost.
oh,
If-
I see. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not at a huge risk of dying here, but if he's unlucky, there is the possibility. And losing a character isn't too bad because everyone shares the XP, but it just makes the fight slower.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat common to lose a character, like every once in a while, at least. Yeah, for the most part now it's just me spamming our neutral attacks for the rest of the fight. Just try to mitigate dying as much as possible. Awesome blocks or super blocks are important here.
Should be dead now. Yep. Oh.
Oh, one more. Maybe.
Oh no.
Oh, one more.
No leave.
So yeah, we lost the character, but again, that's pretty much the end of the fight, so it's not going to matter much.
The nice thing is, you don't have to wait for your character's death animation to switch order.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anytime a character dies, they get reset back to 1 HP after the battle, so... And they also share experience, so losing a character is usually not a big deal. So what he's going to do now is equip the hard mode medal, and the reason for that is the next boss actually loses a little bit of health when you fight her on hard mode, which instead of having a normal, difficulty setting, the game actually lets you equip a medal for 0 medal points to sort of make enemies, hit harder, have more defense, etc. And the next boss actually has 1 extra point. So in theory, it's supposed to be a harder fight with the hard mode medal on. But because it has lower HP, we can sort of get to just barely above, a specific threshold of HP. And that, by doing that, we skip potentially 2 really annoying turns, and it ends up making the fight shorter in the process. But it also makes it more difficult.
Yeah, the fight's definitely a lot harder, and as we mentioned earlier, we can use the Burly Bomb to lower the boss's defense that it gains from being on hard mode, and actually helps speed up the fight even more. So the defense really is not a big deal. And here you're gonna see one more ice clip. This one's a little tricky.
This one's new to me.
Yeah, this should work, I think. Maybe a little bit more to the right. Yeah, you want to position the ice block somewhat precisely in this clip.
Yeah. That should
That
work.
should be good. Yeah. Yeah.
Whee!
To the sky.
Yeah, so that skips a very quick puzzle, but it doesn't save that much time, but it's still worth it to go for. What is it? I think like maybe 20 something seconds, something like that.
It's time for Leaf to shine now.
Yeah, this is Leaf's boss fight, one of the few that he gets.
Is it really though? I guess to finish it.
I mean, he does
starts
the
the
bulk of the
file,
work.
yeah.
He does the bulk of the work.
It's true. He handles the fight for the first half for sure.
I mean, he takes the abuse. That's the real thing that matters.
Yeah. Although sometimes the boss can do attacks that target Vi, which would be bad for the latter half of the fight.
Yeah. We don't want the slam attack. It does like 5 or 4 damage blocked.
Yeah.
This is Venus Guardian. We affectionately call it Vigu. And because it's a plant type, Leaf is extra effective here.
That's the attack we don't want to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and an attack boost. That's not good either.
So thankfully, if anything goes wrong and he were to, you know, die on this fight, it's a pretty quick reset. So
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not good. You know what you're gonna
he's
see
just
here?
gonna take a death here.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
a really bad RNG.
Yeah. This is one of the only patterns where even if Light got both of the super blocks, it wouldn't have mattered because of the attack gain.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have bad boss luck for a GDQ submission. It's foretold.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get a good Broodmother. Okay.
I think I was doing I did a submission for some marathon for Paper Mario, and I think I remember I got a 3 cap on the boss twice in a row.
Damn.
For the submission, and I lost like 10 minutes to it. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, so thankfully we just need the Leaf to survive the first 2 turns. Then he can kind of go into the back line where he's much less likely to be targeted. So because this boss has 1 extra point of defense, Hurricane Toss is very useful here.
Which again, on hard mode, they have the defense up, so it actually helps us.
And that should be lethal damage.
Yep.
With 1 more, yep. Sorry, on toss.
Nice. First try, right?
Yeah.
First try.
First try.
Every time.
Oh,
Now-
the next most important thing he needs to do is make sure to not forget to de-equip hard mode.
Yeah.
That's also one of the hardest tricks in the run. There are a lot of hard tricks in this run.
This annoying shield.
It's just, yeah, this is something we don't want to see later on. Fortunately, we have to collect it, but it makes an appearance later.
Mission super complete. God, I love the text in this game.
So now we're supposed to go back to the Queen, but we won't do that.
Yeah, we have some other plans.
So at the start of entering Golden Settlement, you'll actually see the kind of this and some sand behind it. That's actually a shortcut back from an area in Chapter 3 that we're supposed to only be able to get to after the desert area in Chapter. But after these cutscenes, we're gonna use a trick. So some call it the print screen trick, some call it the main name we call it is Lost Sands Early. Lost Sands being the desert area. But essentially, what we're gonna do is we're going to use Vi Suspended Boomerang and then use print screen to lag the game so much that it actually builds up speed on the boomerang. And it's going to go so fast that it actually goes through the game.
Yep.
And now we've access to Lost Sands in Chapter 3 early.
You didn't use 30 FPS for this one either, did you?
No.
You don't need
No, I don't need to. This trick is actually possible like without print screen, but it's just RNG. You don't want to do that.
It's not really RNG, but it feels like it's something that's just you have to get really lucky with.
I usually use 30 FPS for that one. I find it more consistent, but yeah, you can. It's just as long as you can lag the game, you're fine. You can do it.
So we got really good luck on this fight. This fight's just for EXP. In freezing the mage enemies on the back, he skipped a counterattack animation that they like to do when they get hit. So that was about optimal luck on that fight.
Yeah. And now we're going to the Hive.
Going to the Hive. Vi does not like her Hive. Yeah, this kind of
deals
with...
to...
Oh, go on.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention about the print screen trick is that I've heard some stories of people trying to do the trick and they actually can't do it because their computer is too good, so the game doesn't lag.
Oh yeah.
So for Bug Fables, you don't want a good computer to speedrun. Nope, no good computers here.
I mean, this game is simple enough; it could probably run on most PCs at medium settings. But yeah, so the story with the Hive, this kind of deals with Vi's backstory. She wanted to be an explorer, but the bees kind of operate on, excuse the pun, hive mind. Everything you is supposed to be for the benefit of the Hive and your sisters and brothers. And of course, she didn't like that, and so she basically burned or cut ties with most of the Hive because she really did not this, everything for the benefit of the Hive. Like,
yeah, I believe she was expected
to. Is her backstory.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say she was
expected to work in the factory like everyone else.
Yep. But she wants to become an explorer.
She probably has like the least sad backstory of the three too.
Yeah, the other two is really, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, we actually don't really get into the backstories of the characters in the speedrun, so lucky for you if you haven't played this game, you can go play it and not be spoiled for their backstory. So go play it right now.
So we need to talk to some NPCs, mostly the exploration teams here. There's two others here. One is those two ants, which they have the most generic looking models, which is kind of funny because their names are literally Jen and Airy.
I never noticed that. That's funny.
Yeah, and the other explorers, so like she's an NPC, so it's generic NPC.
Yeah, the other exploration team is Mothiva and Zasp. Of course, Mothiva being a diva who has a ton of fans and hates our guts because we kind of beat her. She decides to cancel her meet and greet with fans. She has fans all over the place, even in like far reaches of the world. It's kind of a running gag. So right here, he's actually gonna do some careful movement around this flagpole here because NPCs love to get stuck in this cutscene.
Yeah.
Or not NPCs, party members love to get stuck in this cutscene.
If you get stuck, you're gonna lose like 5 seconds.
Yeah, there's another cutscene in Chapter 3 with the one with the commissioner too that can happen. Just NPCs get stuck and you have to spend extra time waiting for them to respawn. It's great.
Nice thing is this game has a lot of fail safes to prevent things from getting stuck. So,
yes, we'll actually abuse one of those fail safes in a bit. Well, a little later on.
So this is Queen Bee Yonka. She she's happy to see her daughter, which she considers everyone in the kingdom her daughter. I don't know. The jury is out on whether Vi is technically royalty or not because of the way beehives actually operate. But there's your classic RPG trope. Sort of. Anyway, she wants us to go into the factory because the plot with the factory is one of the ancient artifacts is actually used as the generator for the factory. And we come to offer a replacement so that we can actually get the old one, because the old one is an ancient key, a piece of an ancient key, actually, to essentially the game's main MacGuffin, which is the everlasting sapling, which is in the name of the game.
Mhm.
Everything we're doing is sort of like part of the Queen's aspiration to find what is called the everlasting sapling, a tree sapling that can basically grant immortal or eternal life, as the lore goes.
So here we have, which is another pretty good section of the speedrun, also the factory.
Yeah, the
We have a lot
factories
of
are chapter 3
skips.
dungeon. It's a lot of skips.
You walk in front of the gear. Think that's faster?
Yeah, but well, I don't exactly know if it's faster, but I usually do that. And here
It's
I'm
probably
leading.
close.
I'm leading with Leaf because it's gonna be faster to up on the platform after the cutscene.
Yeah, so we saw an earlier cutscene where one of the where Leaf was kind of being inspected by the Hive, and they found that he was a very strange fellow. One of the doctors thought about dissecting him, and of course, as soon as they got close, Leaf kind of automatically triggered an innate response of creating an ice barrier around him. But since he now knows that he can do that, mainly he's a character who has amnesia, so he doesn't actually know everything that he can do.
So here you're going to see another ice clip. This one doesn't save too much time, but again,
It's about 15 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we have access to the bubble shield, we can do a lot of cool things with it. There's a fairly tight platform cycle on here. This dungeon makes a lot of use of the bubble shield, which is also a combat ability, which we'll see a bit later in the run. But it lets him stand on electrified platforms, basically.
So you can actually make this cycle. I found this out recently. If you do a very precise boomerang throw,
Ah,
as soon
I
as
messed
you...
it up.
Yeah.
I'll just do it slow.
Oh, you meant, or there's that cycle. Oh, I have to see this different strat. I was talking about
Yeah, when you enter the
you
room.
you can enter the room, you can start spinning it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty precise angle to get that proper boomerang toss though.
Bam, ba-da-da-ba-ba-bam. So as he exits this room, he's going to try to go for a particular angle of movement so that he can make this fairly tight platform cycle here. And nice.
Got it. Nice.
It's fairly tight, but if you know what you're doing, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, and now this room is really,
Sucks.
really annoying.
Yeah,
This room sucks.
this is probably the second worst room IMO, or maybe worst room. It's annoying. Luckily, it looks like it's going pretty well for light.
Yeah. So there's a crystal berry at the top here. You can get it with the boomerang. I'm just gonna jump.
Yeah, I usually boomerang it. I don't think it's much faster either way here.
The cojones.
You can actually get the keycard with print screen again, but it's not really, like, it's pretty not safe because of the enemy.
Yeah, it's not that much faster either. So.
This room has a lot of neat little platform strats.
Yeah, that first geyser is RNG. It can go down to start, and you can't really freeze it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so here we got really good RNG on the geyser.
So this enemy's name is the Bee Boop, which is just amazing, and I thought you should know.
I always mistakenly call it Beep Boop, but it is not that. It is Beep Boop.
I had to manually remove it from the notes as Beep Boop and just call it Bee Boop as it is. I love Kabu's little idle come here animation there.
So, I mean, this fight's pretty standard. You're just gonna knock down the B boobs if they're in the air, and then gonna relay to Kabu once to do neutral attacks because he pierces.
Yeah, they have one defense, so we use Kabu in front. And here we're gonna use like a button that we never used before. It's select, and we never use it again. Just for the platform.
Gonna make some jumps across these platforms here and try to make it to this cycle.
Ooh, I was a little close, but you got it. Nice.
So he's gonna wait on this platform. Oh, you don't do.
I don't do the respawn thing.
I didn't even know there was a respawn strat here.
Oh, so it's something I do. You go to the corner of that platform, throw the beamering at the thing, and then fall into the honey.
Yeah.
It saves you from having to make that tight jump at the end of the cycle there.
Yeah, they moved this platform before it started, like right where the keycard is, but they moved it to the beginning of the room. So now it's like weird.
So now we have to save one of the heads of the factory. And these three enemies here are really annoying.
Yeah, we're gonna try to go for some ice falls and freeze them. Okay, we got one freeze. At least one freeze is generally pretty good. But...
Yeah, we want every enemy to freeze here, because now they're gonna attack Leaf. It's gonna be pretty slow.
I think it's like a 30 or 40% chance. We want to kill at least one per turn. There is like a way, if you get lucky, to do a two-turn fight here, but it does depend a little bit on luck.
Yeah, some freezes here now, though. That's pretty good.
Nah, I wasn't supposed to do that, but it's not gonna matter.
That's what I do here. What are you supposed to do?
Just kill the first with attack, and the last one you can do tornado toss. So you just do one attack. Alright.
Yeah.
So what are we now, level 4?
Wait, level 1.
Yeah, we upgraded TP twice and then MP.
Okay, yeah, we're level 4 now.
So yeah, TP is a little bit more important early on because we needed to use a lot more attacks, but then we're going to be spamming MP because would have guessed that metals are really good? Because they are. It's not comparable to badges at all.
So one of the medals we recently got is a medal called Strong Start. And the way Strong Start works is it gives a character a second option for the first turn of the game, like a second turn for the first turn up. The trade-off to this is if they attack twice, their second attack will do 2 less damage as opposed to the usual turn relay, which will only reduce their attack by 1. So usually what we're going to use Strong Start for is instead support, meaning that we're going to have a character use, 2 items on a turn. So once again, we're going to do another ice block clip here, and this one was one of the first ones we discovered. It's also one of my favorites. Kind of difficult to do, though. Yeah,
this one can be a bit finicky. I mean, all the ice block clips can be a little bit finicky, honestly, but
this one particularly is really like annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna reset it again. All right.
So actually, I've been meaning to ask, how are the respawn mechanics here? Because sometimes I know that you can like accidentally respawn here when you're doing this fall. Does anyone know?
Respawn.
If you miss the correct spot, I believe it'll just respawn you back at the entrance of the room.
That's only if you miss the spot. Like, what if you fall and I find sometimes you just fall too fast and you just respawn. Is that just because you're in the wrong spot?
I don't think I've ever had that happen to me.
Oh, when you that's because you fall out of bounds. behind the loading zone.
Yeah, so here we're
Behind
saving
loading
one
zone,
of the.
okay.
Here we're saving another worker, like another important worker of the factory, and in saving her, we get access to the generator room, which we need to go to get the key.
That
And
was
so
pretty
we've
fast.
skipped. Yep, we've skipped like 2 mini bosses and a ton of extra stuff here in this dungeon.
And here you're gonna see
So-
the abuse of the failsafe we mentioned earlier. So,
Yeah, so we're not.
Go
So
ahead.
we're basically stuck behind the gate, just kind of the characters like in a looping walk animation because the game has sort of a failsafe in it to say like, "Hey, you're stuck right now." It'll kick us back out to somewhere that we can actually do something. So rather than soft locking ourselves by doing that clip, we just have to wait a few seconds behind the gate.
Okay, so now this boss fight is gonna impact the rest of the route. Well, the XP route, whether we get a beep boop spawn or not.
Yeah, it has the chance of randomly summoning a B-boop, and that affects our EXP for a little bit. It's one of the unfortunate randomness that we have to kind of consider with the routing of the game. Ideally, it doesn't spawn because it slows the fight. There are workarounds. If it doesn't spawn and every like there's one other fight that has a chance of spawning an enemy that gives EXP. If neither of those two do it, then according to the route, we'll end the game 1 EXP shy of a final level up.
Yep.
Which is the fastest thing that can happen. This is the B33, and yes, its name is literally just
B.
with 3. There's so many B puns in this game. I love it.
alright,
Using the
so-
strong start to fully heal PP here, and Calvo actually gets in on the action in this fight, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, again, making use of the piercing glitch to be lowered his defense. And actually, once you get to a certain point in this fight, his defense is permanently lowered anyway.
Yeah, so he only has about 55 HP, which means we can kind of just pound it.
Yeah, all that just the slower
Oh.
Honey Nation skip. Oh, I was gonna say RNG maniped around no B-boop, but unfortunately, it causes B-boop to spawn, and yeah, that's a little unlucky.
So now the beep, I'm supposed to attack with Kabu here, but the B-boop is blocking it, so I'll just attack with V again.
And you have these boss fights a lot better than I do. Last time I ran this for a marathon run, I think I was at like 1 HP on like 4 or 5 boss fights.
He's not gonna die here. Oh, he does.
Didn't have to bust out the hard seed strats.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so now we're gonna be 15 XP, like, extra from the normal route. And this is the end of chapter 3.
So yeah, well, to make that fight slower, we do get to do a faster fight for experience later on, at least. So it's
Yep.
not all bad. But we do have to also cook an extra item, so...
Yeah, getting a bit boop is, like, you just lose time. You really don't want it.
Like how Montivo's just like did nothing this entire
Give it to
time.
me!
It's like, no, give it to me. Yeah, you're supposed to save her from a big old honey blob, but we don't do that. She's fine anyway, because Zasp is actually really cool. I love this.
Yeah, I
I
guess
love
it-
this like escape animation of just throwing a smoke ball and they're both.
I was gonna say in the speedrun, Zaps and Mothra are forced to save themselves, I guess, which they do. Because we never save them.
Considering they have a really annoying boss fight later on, they could save themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Back in
that boss
I
is...
especially hate
pain.
that fight. In the early days of routing, I actually used ice rain in the route, and that is a long side quest that didn't need to be there, but you know, I figured I would try a route. And using ice rain in that fight is rough. Because it's like, there's like 2 pixels where you can actually hit both targets.
Mm.
So, talking to the Queen Bee to unlock a side quest to figure out essentially what the heck caused the factory to go into shutdown mode in the first place.
I just also want to point out we walked by Vi's sister and didn't say anything, just picked up the bad book and we're peacing out.
Yeah. We just stole our sister's book. So,
No reconciliation. Oh, I didn't know you could jump over that.
If you talk to her in that cutscene, it is 15 to 17 seconds of just text. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really don't want to actually talk to her.
So now it's gonna be
Start
cutscene time. Like we're gonna do the chapter 2 cutscene and then the chapter 3 cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the part of the run I like to say if you want to grab a snack, now's the time.
Normally the cutscene's paced just fine, except
Yeah, we sort of did some sequence breaking, so.
yeah, and we have to trigger these cutscenes, otherwise we can't really proceed in the game.
Does anyone know if there's any if there's a reason why one cutscene plays first?
Yeah,
Sometimes-
it's because
Oh,
of like who you're leading with. Like
Ah,
if I'm leading with Leaf, I'm gonna do the chapter 3 cutscene, but I won't gonna trigger the chapter 2 cutscene because I'm too far away.
I see. That's pretty interesting, actually.
So if you don't do Scarlet, you can skip the chapter 2 cutscene. Because Scarlet, to activate the quest, like to get it, you need to finish chapter 2.
I thought you also needed it so it doesn't crash later.
That I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's a fun fact. The reason why I call her Vi is because her full name is Violet or Violet, which I think is
Yeah,
supposed to be.
Violet.
Everyone disagrees on whether it's Vi or V.
I like use each interchangeably, pretty much.
Well, my main
Yeah,
language
so-
is French, so like it's Violet. It's Violet.
Yeah, so either way, there's a whole theming with her because it's not just Vi, it's Violet or Violet, and then her sister's name is I think it's pronounced Jean.
Yeah, Jean. Yeah,
Yeah, which is
yellow.
so Violet, Violet, French for basically purple, and then her sister's name is French for yellow.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Leaf is just because he's a moth and moths eat leaves, and then Kabu's name is sort of a reference to Kabuto, which is the Japanese name for a rhinoceros beetle.
Mm.
So
Ah,
there's your fun fact of the day. Yeah, this
Yeah,
game
we're-
apparently actually is really popular in Japan, like relative
Oh, really?
to everything else.
Interesting.
I mean, it has a Japanese publisher, but it's also bugs are like a big
Oh, yeah,
bug
that's
collection is
true.
big in Japan, so
that's true.
Japan likes bugs more than we do. So we're giving the bad book collectors bad books. I like to call this guy the Brosentia of this game.
Yeah, the bad books is a really good source of money early on.
Mhm.
We
This
got
NPC will work
70
back up.
berries.
Yeah, this NPC warps us to several different places. One of them being the hub town here, and it saves
Yeah.
like a second to talk to him. Here we play this game's kind of title theme motif on the crank there. That gives us a crystal. Gonna accept a quest here. This innkeeper will actually let us stay for free one night if we agree to write up a good review of her inn.
Yeah, that's one of
Which
the
we're not
side
going to
quests.
do because it's a side quest that we accept in order to reap the benefit, but we're not actually going to finish the quest. It's talking
Sorry,
to her,
sorry.
No
Your inn
review.
sucks. Your inn sucks. I like the ground better because I'm a bug.
Oh, we even took the honey drop too. No review. So we're just gonna get some extra items here for safety on Scarlet.
Yeah,
Just
this
in
is
case.
mostly for safety. If he does the AoE.
Yeah, so Scarlet, the main problem with Scarlet is that he likes to heal every time he does almost any attack. There are some attacks where he doesn't heal on, but most of them he does. And so yeah, when he attacks every enemy, he heals a lot, unless you super block. But even then, it still heals for quite a bit. So
I'm buying 5 spicy berries here, and a break medal, which we missed the chance to get earlier, but it's actually faster to buy it from here. Break is an ability that lets Leaf lower an enemy's defense by 1, without having to use like a burly bomb or something. Anyway, so Scarlet doesn't have a lot of HP, but has a couple attacks that can hit really hard, and like mentioned, can heal. This side quest is fairly lengthy. It'd be kind of nice if we could cut it out, except for the fact that there is a secret shop in town that Vi, in cutscene events before the events of this game, managed to get herself kicked out of and banned from. So these 2 NPCs will agree to let us back into the secret area, as long as we help them deal with this NPC who seems to be like luring in bugs and just kind of robbing them of all their possessions.
And energy too, I think, right?
Yep.
You feel the soul. Yeah, if only Vi was didn't get kicked out earlier, we don't have to do this side quest. But oh well.
She's a dumb, selfish bee, but we love her. The kind of nice thing about Strong Start, by the way, is if you turn relay your extra turn with Strong Start, it doesn't cause the -2 damage to transfer over to the character you relay for.
Yeah, Strong Start is very, very strong if you know how to use it properly.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. No heal.
It's not an amazing medal for casual play, just because in casual play, like assuming you don't, know exactly how much damage you need to do, it's just 1 turn of an extra benefit. But in the speedrun, any turns that we can cut are invaluable for time save.
Yeah, I think I didn't opt to use it too much on my casual playthrough.
Yeah, especially since in the speedrun, we never actually upgrade our HP. We use HP plus medals a couple times, but we're playing the entire game at sub 10 HP pretty much.
Yeah,
and enemies later on in the game will start to hit really hard.
Yeah, for the most part, HP upgrades aren't really worth it because, every character just gets +1 HP, whereas for TP you get +3, and then for MP you also get +3, and those can be used for everyone or interchangeably as needed.
Oh, he's taking
Nice.
a beating.
Oh, this is a very, very nice Scarlet fight.
Yeah. And we leave it up here because we gotta beat Boob Spawn. Chapter 3.
Gonna be upgrading MP for quite a while.
Yeah, this is the point where we start getting some really useful medals that also happen to be very chunky MP costs.
So,
It's nice actually just sitting down and watching a full run of this, because I haven't had much time to do that. I did relearn most of this current route, but there's definitely people who put in more work recently than me.
Yeah, it's been getting a little bit harder now. You're incorporating more tricks and whatnot and strats.
Maybe someday Digless will be a thing.
Yeah. Well, the next big thing is probably on E-Factory, like keyless. But this one is really hard because we don't have much to work with.
So back here is the secret shop, and it's random what medals that we're gonna get, so hoping we get Poison Attacker and Power Exchange quickly.
Yeah, like we can re-roll the shop, but yeah, this can go on and on if you don't get good RNG.
Yeah, thankfully they added the feature of just letting you re-roll the medals rather than
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Second and first try.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
You don't have to exit the room every time you don't get what you want.
I know I wasn't aware of a lot of quality of life changes, but I did read that they added the reroll. I was like, oh wow, I can't imagine playing this game without the reroll, especially for speedruns.
You got into this game fairly recently, did you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, the devs gave me a pre-release key, so I got to play this game a day before it came out. So I've been there since the beginning.
Nice.
although not really super far since the beginning. I definitely have to give props to Glackham, who was one of the beta testers. Normally a Rayman speedrunner, but he was really into this game, and he did put like 200 hours plus into testing and coming up with stuff. He's the one responsible for the
VGoo
hard
bus.
mode,
Yeah.
Venus Guardian fight.
Nice.
So Mayor here gives us 45 berries, which I think is the game's way of essentially bypassing a need for berries right now, because we are going to have to spend 30 of them minimum. Not able to get the right angle.
Yeah.
You can kind of throw the boomerang in such a way at this building that you can hit the dark cherries behind the wall there. And dark cherries sell for 45 berries.
Yeah, you can lower the FPS to make it a little bit more lenient.
So pay this guy 30 berries for the key to enter the next area. And then we're going to do a lot of shopping and cooking here.
I actually did cut out a lot of cooking here, thankfully. It's not as much, but it's still a decent amount, yeah. Yeah, because pretty much, assuming you have the items already, every time you cook something, it costs 10 seconds. So it's a little bit slow. I mean, you might think that doesn't sound too bad, but and you include also the time it takes to gather items too, it can be a little bit slower. So in this route, we actually opt to skip getting a decent amount of healing items and that we would cook before, and we're going to instead buy a lot of jade stews.
Yeah, that's going to be a useful healing item for later. So what we're making are spicy fries, which they heal 4 HP, and they give you the spicy berry benefit of 2 turns of +1 attack. The spicy candy, which gives you a TP restoration instead of HP. And then the poison cake heals you for, 11? 13
Yeah, 11,
TP?
yeah.
And also poisons you automatically. For a pretty lengthy period of time. I think poison normally lasts 3 turns, but I think poison cake lasts like 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
And as we mentioned earlier, we picked up the weak stomach metal, which... The weak stomach metal makes it so that you get poisoned whenever you eat a healing item. And one of those special metals that we picked up in the secret area back in town was the poison attacker, which does +1 damage when you're poisoned. So combine that with the power exchange, which is +1 attack, -1 defense, and the spicy berry benefit, and we get like +3 attack on all of our attacks, which, since Vi can hit enemies with an attack that hits 4 times, that's +3 to basically every hit. So instead of going like 2, 1, 1, 1, it'd be like 5, 4, 3, 2, and that just adds up a ton. Grabbing another HP plus here because we're never going to level up HP.
We're only gonna use it in the last boss fight, though.
Yeah, it just happens to be really convenient there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't 100% be necessary for that fight, but that fight hits you so hard that having that safety there is just like... It's completely worth eating up 5 seconds.
Yeah. So now we're gonna learn Dig. And we are only here just for that ability.
Yeah, there's some really nice things in this area. Such as a TP plus item that'll just permanently grant us 1 TP. There's also one of the more tricky bosses in the run here, because that boss does not let you use items. But this is for like all chapters and glitchless runs. We don't actually do the fight in an any percent speedrun. And you can just barely make a cycle past this enemy here, but it's risky and you lose a lot of time if you fail it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm so
I
glad
have
we don't.
never known you can make that movement there.
I was gonna say, I'm just very glad we don't have to do the itemless boss in any percent.
Yeah, we used to, and it was probably one of my least favorite things to route into the game.
I hate it. We do like
So-
2 stealth section in the game. There are this one and the one in the Wasp Kingdom.
We lose all we get taken in by these bandits and lose all our stuff, and it all gets thrown in this chest here. Which there was a point after a path where I forgot that you're supposed to hit it and not talk to the treasure chest. And I go into the dev Discord like, yo, it's not letting me open the chest. And they're like, did you try hitting it? And I'm like, I've beaten this game. How did I not? This is just my fun story with that. So yeah, now we're done with the bandits hideout. We're supposed to collect a couple of keys in chapter to unlock the desert temple, which is honestly one of the better dungeons in this game. It was really fun in the old speedrun and in the all chapter speedrun, but we don't actually have to do it anymore. It's been ratted out.
We're just going straight to the end of chapter 5 now. Gonna skip pretty
detour, but yeah.
We're gonna pretty much skip like most of chapter 4 and most of chapter 5.
Yeah. Oh, are you supposed to have a power exchange, or?
I have it.
Oh, you have it? Okay. I did it so fast, I missed it.
So he's actually first striking this enemy by hitting it with the bubble and then entering with the bubble shield. So that gives Leaf 2 turns at the start of the fight automatically. So if he gets good berry spawns here, he can end up saving a little bit of time later. So he's going to do a fight here with this Psychor. Ordinarily he has to fight the, or not Psychor, the Chomp.
I had a jumper, yeah.
Ordinarily he had to fight the two Psychors, the Scorpions, on the previous screen. Ordinarily would have had to fight 2 of those. But this fight ends up being better for EXP in runs where you actually get the B-Boop spawn.
So now we're ready. We're just powered up V with the medals, with the prison medals, and now we're ready to go to Broodmother.
Yeah, so the base of the hive is actually like located near Golden Settlement. I don't know, the geography of this world is weird. There's a couple of places that actually kind of establish this world's geography is like somebody's back. It's really neat how deep they go with it. But at the base here of Golden Settlement is a facility, which is sort of where the factory's like bottom is, and we now have access to this kind of underlying facility here. And it turns out that the reason the factory went nuts and went into shutdown mode was a very, very, very large midge here decided to break all the electricity and lay her eggs here. So this is Broodmother, which is it's a side quest boss, but we have to beat it to proceed with the major skip that we're gonna do.
Yeah, and here you're starting to see just how strong the medals we picked up are. You can see Fi's doing a lot of damage.
Okay.
Ooh, we got the
Yeah,
spawn.
really bad RNG. So she has like 25% chance of spawning a mage every turn. And the thing is, it's gonna activate like the attack of the mage every time I hit the boss. Oh,
Yeah,
that's really bad. Should have blocked that.
yeah. This boss fight can go south pretty quickly because of the midge spawn.
I'm gonna need the boss to not attack Vi here.
Oh, nice. Alright, we can.
I think I'm dead actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're dead.
Oh wait, no.
Well, it depends if the mage attack me. Oh,
Oh my god, so
damn.
lucky. Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
That-
you need an attack to hit in the air with.
I need luck. Oh,
Oh my god, this is luck. It's so unlucky and lucky at the same time.
yeah.
They managed
Alright.
to bypass a reach that with kind of really low odds.
Yeah. This
Should have
was,
died there.
this was really, really lucky.
Did you still have the hard seat or did you sell it?
I saw it. I saw it,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so
yeah, like, no
I had
buffer.
no way
Yeah,
to attack it.
If I had died, you would have just had to slowly let your HP drop to.
Yep.
Here you get to see this big skip because we can open this lever or gate early. I'm using the print screen trick.
Yeah, so this accesses the depths of the Wasp Kingdom. Haven't really touched on the main villains of this game, but the main villains of this game are the Wasp Kingdom, and specifically the Lost King himself.
So as
Which
mentioned,
is-
this is a really large sequence break.
Yeah, almost the entire like 60% of Chapter 4, maybe even more than that, and then like 2/3 of Chapter 5. Also skips a really, really annoying boss in Chapter 5.
Yeah. Yeah, the boss in chapter 5 is like you need break because he has 1 defense. And then you need to kill it with Kabu at the end.
It's gonna use print screen to generate lag once more. To try and throw the beamering through this wall here to get a key.
This is a little bit precise.
Yeah, you have to like time the throw and hitting print screen at a specific point.
And positioning can be precise as well here.
A bit more hub.
Yeah.
I won't get it here. I might do it the normal way if I can get it. Like,
I think you want to go a little bit more like up.
yeah.
Tried lowering FPS maybe?
Oh yeah. True. There you go.
There you go.
Shouldn't take that many tries usually, but that ends up skipping this puzzle where you have to move an ice block all the way over to that geyser there, and then hit a switch to raise the platform and get on the ice block with the geyser, and it's a lengthy little sequence there. Also, there's a wasp wandering around, and if he gets spotted, he has to reset the entire room, whether or not he gets the key.
Yeah.
This area is pretty much where we can't skip dig.
So you can skip getting the key needed to unlock that gate we just passed. But because we're going to be utilizing a bunch of jade stews to skip cooking items, it actually is faster to not skip the key and just get it here.
Yeah. So this NPC's name is Jade. She notices that we're trespassing in the Wasp King's like castle in a way, but she realizes that we have a very, very strong resemblance, conveniently, to this hero team that she idolizes. She thinks that we are the team of heroes, so she decides to sell us her a few things, including Jade Stew, which is her own home-cooked stew, which heals 7 HP and 7 TP, and only costs 7 berries, which is really good.
Yeah, we're mostly going to be using these jade stews on the final boss, actually, and one on the boss before the final boss. So we're just going to store them for later to free up inventory space.
Yeah, so sort of the story with the Wasp King is he has this power over fire, and he also has, it's implied that he's kind of brainwashed most of the Wasp Kingdom to do his bidding, because normally this is a matriarchal society, and the Wasp Queen is, despite wasps generally being portrayed as, you know, evil little jerks, the Wasp Queen herself is not aggressive. It's just, you know, the king has taken over.
And here we have a fight where Kabu gets to do most of the work. We put all our medals on Kabu.
2 enemies in the front have a ton of
Yeah, Kabu is definitely the most useful when you need to hit multiple enemies that have more than one or more defense. Rather.
Yeah, so Understrike is a 2-hit attack that does really good damage, and then Heavy Strike. And Understrike pierces all defense, whereas Heavy Strike's kind of just an upgraded version of his base. And so this is General Ultimac. It's one of the Wasp King's right-hand men. Turns out he's kind of a coward. And his basic attack when he loses his minions is really funny. He just runs up to you and tries to slap you.
So yeah, we can take care of this boss fight pretty quickly.
This wasn't really meant to be like the chapter boss. This is sort of like almost like a breather boss. The chapter boss is actually fought before we hit this area in the game's story, but of course we skipped everything before this area, so...
Yeah.
Anyways, Ultimax is great because his actual name is General Fuff.
Yeah. And his like his expression when he's alone is really funny.
Yeah. So in this part of the story, the whole point of infiltrating the Wasp King or the Wasp Kingdom was to
Get back the artifacts.
Yeah, get back the artifacts, but it turns out it was just all set up, so going to the Wasp Kingdom was not necessary. So while we were gone, the Wasp King attacked again.
No, it's gonna be it's gonna be a huge cutscene now. It's like a 3 to 4 minutes cutscene.
Yeah, we skipped the first encounter with the Wasp King attacking.
I always wondered why he can dodge or attack here, but he can't in his battle. You just go by the window. You just go flying.
Also only has one part of the key, but because we're supposed to have 2 parts of the key, like the game considers it as if he is treated as if he has the 2 parts of the key. Also, I actually really like this cutscene. So the entire game, you're led to believe that the Queen Ant, Elizant II, who is sort of portrayed as far more single-minded and possibly aggressive than her mother, who is like a benevolent queen loved by everyone. You kind of think that she's going to be like an evil villain in and of herself, that she wants the everlasting sapling for her own like benefit. Turns out she's actually really insecure as a queen and wants to find the everlasting sapling so she can bring back her mother, who's sort of like not actually dead, but in sort of a perpetual coma. So
yeah,
it's kind of an untwist in a way because you think she's going to be this big surprise villain because so many games have done that before, and it turns out she's just she's kind of a fairly normal person in a monster shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Queen is one of my favorite characters in this game.
So now we're going to the Termite Kingdom. Because we need help, like, to beat the Wasp King.
The Termites are believed to know more about the location of the everlasting sapling right now, because like they're trying to get all the artifacts so that we can figure out like where the heck it is and how to. It turns out that the path is actually through an area that the Ant Kingdom controls, but they're not aware of it yet, which is the place called Rubber Prison. Which, as I mentioned, this whole game's world is kind of treated as somebody's backyard. There's like a big old little pond. There's a big old pond that actually is sort of treated as this giant lake in the Ant Kingdom that we're gonna cross. And there's a giant tire, which is a location of a prison. Like the whole world is interconnected in a way that kind of reminds me of like Pikmin, if you've ever played that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you notice Light picked up a dark cherry and is gonna pick up another one. These are just items that sell for large amounts of money, so that we're gonna be using to buy more items later on.
Yeah, now that we have dig, we can get them in those dig spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, because we skipped getting Kabu's dash ability, there aren't that many dark cherries available to us for that any percent run.
So this screen's actually pretty unique. There was a skip to get past this wall of boulders here that used to soft lock us. So after I think patch 102, it was patched. And when we figured out a dashless route, the devs were actually kind enough to put this back in because the speedrunners like had a use for it. And instead of causing a soft lock going past here too early, they put a mushroom that sort of works as a spring, and that'll springboard you past. And this means that if you were to accidentally do this in a casual playthrough and soft lock yourself, you're no longer soft locked. So this trick was patched out and then patched back in.
Thank you, Marangino.
Although I do believe, even if we don't need to use the mushroom anymore to get back, do we?
We don't.
Yeah.
We never did.
Oh, okay.
It's there for casual players if they were to somehow figure out how to skip past those boulders without the dash ability to break them.
Mhm. Well, in previous routes we used to farm berries here, so we need to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we don't do that anymore.
So here's where Vi finally gets the ability to fly. And flying is broken.
Well, if you combine it with the storage.
Yeah, so normally buffering like a jump into a boomerang or horn attack. Normally it does a little bit of benefits, but if you buffer a jump flight, you get more height than you're really meant to. And you can sequence break a lot of things. So the whole dungeon has like a lot of winding turns, and if you go down the wrong path, it'll just take you back to the entrance. But there's a shortcut there that's not really developer intended, I don't think. To just get straight to the end of this area.
Yeah.
And so we've skipped most of Forsaken Lands, which is kind of sad because Forsaken Lands has one of the better music themes in the game, but it's also fast, which is nice.
Remember, the jump fly is a feature, not a glitch.
Yeah. The devs, even the devs are aware of its existence and have made plenty of use of it.
Yeah, the devs themselves, I don't think, consider it a glitch. So, unfortunately, I don't think you'll ever see Forsaken Lands done on a speedrun because it's kept even a glitchless.
Nice. So this boss can spawn a weevil, and you just lose a little bit of time. Actually, that's...
Yeah, so this is Primal Weevil. He's big and has 1 defense and 65 HP, so putting up a shield there to guarantee that Vi will live another turn. Bubble Shield's kind of nice. Guarantees that one character will not take damage.
And he's dead.
Nice. That was a
Really
very good
nice fight, yeah. Really good fight.
It's weird hearing the voice dialogue sounds. The little.
Oh yeah, you have him muted.
I have them turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the harder noises to get used to. I think because in my casual playthrough, I didn't like it until like chapter 3. I was like, okay, it's fine now.
You get used to it.
Yeah. So we're in Termite Kingdom now. It has some banger music.
Yeah, this music is really good. Lo-fi music.
Gonna sell the dark cherries for 90 berries and then buy 2 squashes and 2 Mega Rush trademarks.
Yeah, a little nod to Paper Mario's Mega
So
Rush.
the difference between Mega Rush and another like spicy berry. Does Mega Rush actually trigger poison still?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty weak stomach.
I think at one point. But anyways, so what Mega Rush will do is it will give you the power up that Spicy Berry does, as well as trigger poison, which causes poison attacker to go up as well. The other thing that it does is it grants 1 turn of charge, which charge is a temporary power up, which for each turn of charge you get 1 additional damage. But it's only 1 attack that will get that. Mega Rush gives you +1 attack and +1 charge, which makes it extremely powerful.
Yeah, we're pretty much going to be using it in every major fight for the rest of the run. Except for the final boss, I think, actually. But
Yeah, for the final boss, we're gonna use Crash Start, which we're gonna cook right now with the microwave. Squash Start is attack up for 3 turns, and also you get 2 TP each turn for 3 turns.
Yeah.
That additional 3rd turn, as opposed to Spicy Berry, which only gives you 2 increased damage, is actually pretty significant on a lot of fights.
Yeah, it's especially important on the final boss because it's such a long fight. So the added.
We're talking a lot about the final boss. That is really kind of the ultimate thing you need to plan for with the run, because the final boss has a lot of HP and can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, we have a pretty consistent strat for the final boss now.
Yeah, most fights in this game take no more than 5 turns. That one takes 8. So
yeah, I literally spent like a week trying.
Yeah, before this fight was just a coin flip, but now it's way more consistent.
Yeah, because there's a lot of specific mechanics that only apply to the final boss, so understanding all of them is important for trying to make it work.
This whole story behind this area is we go to and seek the help of the Termite King and Queen, who get really angry when they see Queen Alexantha II, and they refuse to help us out. But eventually, we'll say like the Queen begs them, which is unlike a queen to actually beg in other regions, and they decide, you know what, we'll help you if you partake in our tradition, which is Coliseum combat. So now we have to do 3 consecutive fights here in this Coliseum. These 2 enemies here are just enemies that you find in the Forsaken Lands. The pumpkin has like 4 defense, so we really want to correctly do Understrike here. It only has 4 HP, which is pretty easy to deal with.
Another hardest trick in the run right here is
hitting
both of them with Understrike.
Yeah, this Understrike is really tricky. If you miss it, because the pumpkin enemy has a lot of defense, so that's why we use Understrike.
Now we fight 2 of the Termite Kingdom's warriors, and by fight I mean we throw a boomerang at them and they die.
Yeah.
They don't have a ton of HP. They don't have a ton of HP.
Yeah, here you get to see the strength of everything we've gathered together, our attack bonus, medals, and Mega Rush putting in the work right here. Emerango Burr.
We precisely level up here because the next fight we need like everything we can from this fight.
Yeah. So they decided to call forth the Primal Weevil again, but it's gonna be a different fight. Also, absolute banger of a music track approaching.
Yep, it's one of my favorites as well. It's unfortunate it has to be in such an annoying fight.
Yeah, so here what we want is like we want Zasp to not focus V and to never towns, because if he towns, our whole strategy won't work. So it's gonna.
Yeah, specifically, we don't want him to taunt V at all.
Yeah.
The other ones aren't as bad. You can recover from that, but if he taunts V, it's pretty over. So again, we're focusing Mothava for because she can heal Zasp. We'll heal her first.
Do an absolutely obscene amount of damage to her in one turn.
Yeah, we just
It
kill her.
only has 33
one turn.
HP, so...
I think we. I could be wrong, but I think we did exactly 33.
Yeah, it's close to that. Okay. Well,
And of course.
Oh, yikes. Okay,
Frigid
that's
Coffin
not good.
backup strats.
yeah, I'll try Frigid Coffin.
That's what I usually go for when this happens. Cause...
So, Sasp has a chance to taunt, and taunt means you can only do an attack.
no freeze. Yep.
That's really bad. He's at 38, I think. No, he has like 20 something now.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to win this.
Just reset.
Yeah. And of course.
Double taunt.
When you want to die,
That's
then he doesn't feel
unfortunate.
like attacking.
At least we can instantly reset.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Telling you, man, submission. You have to have some bad luck. It's guaranteed.
Imagine if it counts again.
If he does, I hope it's not on V. Please not V. Okay.
So we're probably fine now, because we're gonna bowl shield anyway. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Nice. First try.
First try.
We actually got, I think we got like worse RNG on all the, like Broodmother, Vegu, and Sasamotiva too. We got like horrible RNG.
Yeah.
What's your time looking like right now?
I'm 5 minutes behind, but like I lost 3 minutes on Wasp King on my PB. So it's not too bad. I can still sub 250.
Nice. So now we're just returning back to Termite King and Queen.
So a little optimization of running on the conveyor belts that are on the bottom of there. I don't know why they're there, but they save time to...
We're
I
also
think
going to pick up a few more items on our way out of here too.
We need 3 Mega Rush and 3 Burly Bombs, which we can now buy. We don't need to cook them anymore. Alright. So now we have access to the submarine, which we'll need to go to Rubber Prison.
Yeah, and so Rubber Prison kind of leads into the final area, so there's pretty much... from here on out, it's just a straight shot to the end game.
Yep. So we're going to be doing pretty large sequence break in Rubber Prison.
2 pretty large sequence
Yeah,
breaks.
2 are pretty large. I kind of consider it one whole trick, I guess, but it's really 2.
That whole area is this kind of elaborate dungeon where you're supposed to break some rocks, hit some switches, and then collect a whole bunch of books. Create a key, and then you gotta get that key and get to the end of it, and then fight a boss. We're only gonna do like 1 step of that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the first part of that sequence break, the first trick needed, it's kind of like a random trick.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be using print screen again to clip, but for reasons we don't fully understand, just based on how the room loads, sometimes the clip doesn't work at all, and sometimes it just works too frequently where you don't even need print screen. And
Yeah.
if you don't see that it coming, then it can also throw off doing the trick as well.
And if it doesn't work, I need to go into an encounter to reload the room, or reload my save file.
Mm-hmm. So, we haven't really mentioned this, but there is a console release of this game, and obviously you can't use a print screen key on console to lag the game. So technically, this random trick that sometimes works without the print screen to lag the game it should be possible on console, but good luck trying to do that.
Pretty much. Although it has the game actually has seen quite a substantial amount of new players. Like, this game sold pretty well ever since it's been brought. I know on the eShop it's like top 20, just doing pretty well considering that how many like Nintendo-led games there are on. Oh, nice! You're doing the fast.
Yeah, Light did some pretty precise out-of-bounds movement to make sure that you could go to the top floor right away.
So now I'm gonna reset my respawn position here.
Yeah, if he fails this trick, he's gonna want to hit the water on the bottom as a hazard, which will reset him back up to this part here.
That's too high.
So he's gonna use the bridge there to clip him into the floor there.
Nice.
Just gonna go out of bounds and access a loading zone a couple floors down. And this is the end of Rubber Prison.
Yep. So
Good job.
Pretty much skipped everything in Rubber Prison. Straight to the boss.
It's time for Ultimax 2, but now he has a tank.
And a very nice amount of HP.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's 70 HP, not 69. I found that out by mistake the other day. But I think it was 69 at some point. Anyway,
they've retooled the HP counts by like minute amounts. I'm pretty sure the first Wasp had 15 at one point, but now he has 14. So you had to do 3 attacks to kill him instead of 2.
Because I tried rerouting this fight once and I was like, and I did exactly 69 damage to him and it didn't kill him. I was like, what? So I thought it was 69, but it's actually 70. I don't know why they did that. It's unfortunate.
So now it's phase 2 of the fight, which is Ultimax just alone.
The first turn can be rough because Vi can take a lot of damage, and if Vi dies, like Vi will usually be able to guarantee kill the tank, but I've had many a run where she would die in the first couple of turns, and then I just had to take out Ultimax's final 20 HP with Kabu and Leaf with no TP, so it's just a slow fight.
Thankfully, with the addition of the honey drop in this fight, we used to do that without the honey drop, and the defense up used to be a bit of a problem to deal with if that happened. But since we have more TP with the honey drop, we can use Hurricane Toss, which makes the defense boost meaningless, essentially. And we can also deal with Ultimax's last phase a little bit faster with more TP. Alrighty, so we're getting to the end of the game here. About to enter chapter 7.
Spooky chapter 7.
This area gives me big Shadow Temple vibes.
Yeah. It's definitely a very unsettling area.
Yeah, this is
But-
where I get a lot of the Pikmin vibes, because you see like the soda
Yeah.
can in the background, and you start seeing like an eye appearing in the background, and you get the sense that you're in this world where you're a lot smaller than you think you are.
I do really like this interesting choice of tone for the final chapter, though. So here's like supposed to be kind of a stealth section, but we're just gonna pretty much breeze through it. There are a few points where we have to slow down a little bit to dodge. Like here, Light's gonna go on the back of the platform to make sure he doesn't hit the trigger to spawn an enemy there, because if you do spawn the enemy in that scenario, when you can actually get the encounter, because when you're flying, you move slower and can get hit by it.
Yeah, the enemies are very annoying to deal with.
Yeah. So here, that lightweight, I was gonna wait a little bit before flying to make sure again we triggered at the right time. Yep.
I'm too low now. Alright.
I just
Oh. No!
Uh,
Damn.
That's unfortunate. And also, when you get into an encounter, it counts as your flight. Oh, you can restart though. I didn't know that. Interesting.
I didn't know you could do that. Nice.
Me neither.
Okay.
I just holded B and I prayed.
Somehow you managed to find it. That's never happened before.
Yeah, here you can do a quick jump fly and hit this to restore HP. It's a little bit faster than healing with the Venus Bud at the beginning of the chapter.
I'm actually gonna do the safe strat here.
Yeah, there's a couple of strats you can do for this boss. This one revolves around an extra menu, though. But it has a considerably higher odds of success.
Yeah. Because we're killing the two first enemy, and the middle one is really annoying if you let it live the first turn. Can deal a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, so this is the Deadlanders fight. Each of these guys can do a ton of damage, and also have pretty large amounts of HP. The one in the front has 29, the one in the middle has 18, the one in the back has 35. The nice thing with this fight is, at least as far as the speedrun is concerned, this is the only fight in the run where we have Maki, or this is one of only 2 fights in the run where we have Maki as a supporting character, and normally he joins you in Chapter 5. And what he'll do is he'll do an attack that does a flat 6 damage, no matter how high an enemy's defense is.
Just gonna spam AB strike here.
And this is going to bring it down to just under 6 HP, which means that Maki will get the kill.
I know.
Stealing, glory,
Thank you.
stealing,
Yeah,
gold,
he has 4 HP now. And we just kill him.
I did my math wrong. I'm done. Ignore me.
We got a lot of XP from this fight. This is
forgot-
pretty
I
much...
forgot This thread has a third.
Yeah, that's why it's a bit slower. But it's so much safer that you have to go for it. And like no reset run, stuff like that. I don't go for it in war record attempts, but... no, actually.
So now that we're done with the strange attic-looking place, now we're in the freezer, which is also a bug's worst nightmare. I have seen I literally one time had a trail of ants just try and walk through my freezer, and it didn't go very well.
Okay.
It's gonna clip out of bounds here.
I'm
And it's
gonna do
get-
the slower one. Just gonna fly here.
So
Alright.
there, he skipped the entire freezer, saving probably like a minute and a half of movement.
If you do like the jump fly one, the fridge with jump fly, it's about a minute, and if you skip it like that, it's about 30 seconds. That's like if you do the fridge normally, yeah, you skip a lot of puzzle.
Yeah. The first ship was pretty hard, but with the fly strat, it's not too bad.
Well, these are the roach. It's like an instant civilization.
Yeah, the roaches are like the ancient civilization of the Ant Kingdom that, you know, long since have kind of abandoned the Ant Kingdom itself. And now they just exist in the far, far reaches of the Deadlands, protecting the everlasting sapling. Of course, the Wasp King kind of just creamed them. There's not much they can do to stop him.
You can actually skip this cutscene, but it's more of a meme than anything.
It's a
Yeah.
really hard strat.
It's really
As we
hard.
know.
It doesn't save that much time, and you have to play the rest of the run blind. So, well, kind of blind.
So we only have a capacity of items of 10, which is why we use this ant here to store everything and bring it with us at the end of the run here. Now we're out of the freezer and literally onto the stove. and cow. So the final dungeon is basically a giant stove. I guess in a way you could expand it to just say the final area is basically a giant kitchen.
We're using Leaf here because he does I think one more damage because they are far enemies.
Yeah, they have ice weakness. So we're gonna use Understrike to hit these first two guys here. Yeah, sometimes the second hit misses. I don't know why that happens here, but it does. Not that it matters. But yeah, we don't need the second hit.
Of course, since we don't have dash, there's a few areas that we would want to break rocks for, but we have to find some rather clever workarounds.
Yep. Alright.
So again, we're gonna be abusing jump flies here.
Yeah,
This
one's
one is
probably
tricky.
Yeah, you need like a
Probably
max
the first
height
one.
jump fly for this
Yeah.
one to work. You can also get into this encounter with this guy from up here. If you're a little bit too close.
One day, I'll get it. No, that's way too low.
I sometimes brush up against the rock behind me to try and get a little extra height. I'm not sure if it does anything, but it seems to do stuff for me.
Alright,
There you go.
finally.
This next one can be tricky because you can end up accidentally getting into the encounter here. This enemy moves fast.
Yeah, and also that platforming can be a little bit wonky. It's like a
Now,
high pressure situation.
this is the worst puzzle of the game, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
And it used
I was
to be
gonna-
a lot worse.
I was gonna say this is the if that Denmuki room earlier was the second worst room in the game, this is the worst room in the game.
I have a backup if I fail the ice block, but I really don't want to do it.
Yeah, so this room used to even be worse. They patched it in that you actually get like the little arrow particle there saying, you know, what direction the ice block is moving. They didn't originally have that, so you kind of were just hoping and praying.
Yeah, this was also my least favorite room casually too. I was not a fan of this puzzle.
This
But,
next puzzle room here, though, I didn't actually know what you were supposed to do, so I just kind of used fly jump because I figured that out in my casual playthrough and just circumvented this entire puzzle even in my casual playthrough.
I don't think I did it the intended way either.
I messed up. You can get there without doing like the normal way, but I'll just do it silently.
You can get there without going up here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's faster. I think I saw that like yesterday on Twitter.
So now we're gonna turn the stove off. So that our ant compatriots can help us out. And that is basically it for all the dungeons of this game. Now what's left is the final boss, which there's a bit of luck to it. It's consistent enough, but there's still things that we really want to make sure. There's some things that we really are hoping for still.
With the strat I came up with, you can still die, but it's a much lower chance now, thankfully. So
the boss has 2 phases. On the first one, he has 90 HP, and we can't return it. But if he heals once, we'll have to like do the fight in 4 turns or more.
The nice perk is the first phase we heal the full, and then when transitioning to the second phase, we also get a full health refill.
Yeah, I'd say actually this fight has more of a chance to go wrong than the final boss nowadays, but generally they're neither too bad, but I've had a run where this guy just completely wrecks me. So
Yeah, if he doesn't want you to win, you won't win.
Yeah, so
Okay,
90
good.
HP, no defense.
yeah, ideally we don't want him to heal at all on the first 2 turns. If he heals and does attack boost, it's not as bad, but he can heal and do defense boost, and that's really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, this is very
Yeah.
good pattern.
The nice
So now
thing
we
is,
can
I
three
believe
turns.
the nice thing is, I believe even though he does give himself a second turn, the rules of turn relay apply in that his second attack will do less damage
Yep.
than it would. And that's
Yeah.
how it is for most enemies.
And here you're gonna see the only use of fly drop.
I love this attack. It's gonna do 11 damage, which is just enough to finish.
Yep.
It's quite costly in DP, and the amount of damage it does isn't particularly worth it, except for in that one instance we need that much damage with that much DP to do a 3-turn fight. And it's nice also because we do get the full heal going into this. But the next fight is the Everlasting King, which is the if you want to focus, you can leave it to us.
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah, I'll probably not talk much.
Yeah, even though the strats are much more consistent now, if you make one mistake, it is very difficult to recover from it because it's routed very precisely.
Yeah, we're gonna use every item that.
Yeah, all that preparation that we did earlier on, all the jade stews, bunch of cooking, squash tarts. Yeah, it's all
Even
just
the
for this
spicy
fight.
candy from chapter 4.
Yeah, wait from way back when.
So he's eaten the Everlasting Sapling, which is kind of wilted, so it's only somewhat powerful, but it's enough to give him a humongous power upgrade. And so this is the Everlasting King, the final fight of the game. He has 55 max HP as opposed to 90 from before, but it's deceptive because once he gets below 10 HP, his health will not go any lower, and he will do a full heal. He will do this twice. So in effect, he has about 135 HP, give or take, whether or not you do a little bit of extra damage in each cycle. One of the unique properties with this fight is if you attack him in midair, he'll knock himself down, and if you attack him with a vertical attack, such as Kabu's horn-based attacks and hurricane spin, those will knock him back in the air. He has different attacks whether or not he's in the air or on the ground. His ground-based attacks are usually much more favorable, but when he's on the ground, he heals, which is bad. That 55 HP there is scripted because he was at the 10 HP threshold.
Yeah, and we're actually manipulating his actions here because if he spends a certain number of turns on the ground, he'll rise in the air and spawn an artifact on a certain turn. So that would be this turn.
Yeah, so the artifacts can be really annoying. They add an additional enemy, and the tablet is the worst one. We do not want to see the tablet.
Actually, the tablet doesn't really matter that much anymore, thankfully.
It used to be the worst.
Yeah, it used to just instantly underrun, but I was not happy with that, so I routed around it.
Yeah,
it can still be pretty bad just because he can do it and essentially gets an extra air attack, but if depending on what he does, it can kill you. But.
Yeah, the key component's not too bad. It's the easiest one to deal with. It'll hit you for a pretty decent chunk of damage, but it also has probably one of the easiest awesome guards in the game. So
you say as he
I say as light misses. Also, again, another absolute banger of a track here. So we're going to use Bubble Shield to protect the entire party completely because we've got him below the second damage threshold.
Yeah, there's one attack in particular you can do called Keyblade or Key Beam, I think it's called. Key Beam.
We'll call it the Keyblade because why not reference Kingdom Hearts?
Why not?
That attack sucks. It sucks really bad. It'll do, what is it, 9 damage?
Yeah, that's guarded, I think. Something, yeah. It can insta-kill a character, so... Nice, he got all 3. That's very good. That should hopefully guarantee his safety for the rest of the fight.
Hopefully Leaf doesn't die here.
Yeah, we need Leaf to not die though. Oh. Sorry, I jinxed it.
It's not unwinnable. You only have to hit him through 4 more times. The nice thing is when he's on the ground and he does that attack, it's not too bad.
This we'll have to see. Because again, it's routed very precisely.
This won't kill, I think.
No, it shouldn't.
Oh!
Wait, that kills. Wow.
Nice, and that's pretty much run. It's not time. You have to sit through a couple more minutes of...
Yeah, it's about 2
cutscene
minutes of cutscene.
And that level up there as well. It's kind of unfortunate because we don't need levels anymore.
Yeah.
Level up doesn't matter, which is why he chooses HP.
But yeah, still is able to salvage the run.
Yeah, I was very surprised, honestly, that you were able to kill him.
Yeah, me too.
This king turns into a tree.
Yeah, I don't really know why. It's because of the everlasting sapling, but it's kind of weird.
Tried to control the power that was.
It's like a super tiny tree.
Mm-hmm. Tried to control power that was beyond his control. There's a neat little cutscene here where they, like Maki threatens to chop him down, and then Kabu says, "No, we should leave him here. Let this serve as a reminder what happens when somebody's hubris gets the best of them." So, and this cutscene's pretty touching too, because Alazant realizes, I was hoping for a miracle this whole time, and I can't really use the everlasting sapling anymore. So she resigns herself to, like, trying to live up to her mother's legacy of, being the beloved, like, omnibenevolent queen that the entire kingdom treats her as. So, character development in the background.
And now it's like the big celebration.
Mm-hmm. And this game has really dope credits. but you can fast forward through them too, which is kind of nice. I usually do that for any time I want to show off post game stuff in runs. Achievement unlocked.
Yay! Yeah, it's gonna be about
But yeah.
2:15.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely
So-
big shout outs to Gino and Mar. Shout outs to the Bug Fables community who've come up with a really extensive set of strats and pieced together a great route
In a really short time too.
in a really short time. I think we were at sub 220, or we were almost at sub 220 within like 2 months of this game coming out.
Yep.
And it's only, gotten faster since and more consistent in a lot of areas. Yeah, GG's. Thanks.
GG's.
Thanks
It's
to
gonna be
Submission Committee
time now. So
Thanks to Submission
2:15:10. Yep. Thanks to
for
everyone.
watching this.
Thanks to Bug Fables Speedrun community, like Ghost said. I won't name names because it's gonna be too long, but thanks to everyone. You know who you are. And thanks for you guys for commentating with me.
I'm a
Yeah,
big
for
fan
sure.
of this
It was a
game,
great
so I want to see this get into more events.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yep.
that's a submission.
Thank you guys for watching.